And welcome back to the program. You might want to check out my column on my website this week. The website's www.jimbrownusa.com. I wrote about the lack of interest in elections. We've got this huge presidential election coming up in 2016. Now, I know that's still a year away. With so many debates and so much going on, you'd think there'd be more interest than there is right now. In a few states, like my home state of Louisiana, we have a governor's race coming up here just in a matter of a couple of weeks. And it's just amazing the lack of interest. Voter turnout projections are around 50%. I was the Secretary of State for a number of years. I say it's going to be much below 45%. Now remember that half the voters who could register to vote have not registered to vote. So if you say a 50% turnout, you're really talking about 20% of those who would be eligible to vote. So there's just not much interest in this election cycle, and you kind of wonder why. They're throwing a party and nobody wants to come. And I would give you several reasons. First of all, some states have become very distinguished in their allegiance to one party or the other. You hear about red state and blue state. I live in a red state, heavy Republican state. And many Democrats in a red state feel like, well, what difference does it make? Is my vote really going to matter because the state's going to go Republican anyway? Or you hear the very same thing in a blue state, a state like New York, Connecticut, California. If you're Republican, why waste my time? My vote's really not going to count. So you have some of that built into the whole focus. It's also a lot harder for candidates to get to voters today. Everybody's got to buy rent a high-price consultant. And the consultants say, just give us the money and we're going to buy it on TV. It's all television. Don't worry about all the other ways you used to campaign. I think I've written for 10 elections, 6 statewide elections, and I really had a lot of fun in what they call retail politics. Going to all the fairs and festivals, I'd ride in the parade, I'd get big bags of candy, put a converter there with my name on the side, Jim Brown for this or that, throw the candy to the crowd, get out and shake hands. That was a lot of the fun of campaigns. They don't do it anymore. You have big fairs and festivals, few candidates show up. Now, they're doing a little bit like in Iowa in the presidential election, because that's just for show, the early state. Once you get beyond Iowa, you're not going to see that kind of thing anymore. You don't see all the retail elements of politics, going out and speaking to all the civic clubs and visiting store after store in a small town. I'd get a big motor home, pull into a little town and put the motor home in front of the town, go store to store, hand out my cards, say, can I leave a few cards here? Go by the courthouse and see the sheriff and all the local officials, and really try to make an input in a short period of time in that particular location. You just don't have as much anymore like you used to. There's also an issue with the press I might share with you. If you notice, we're losing newspaper consolidation of newspapers. We don't have the newspapers we once did, and those that are still in play are much thinner. I've got to get one daily. The Times-Picayune, the largest paper in the state, in where I live in Louisiana, only publishes a full paper 3 times a week. Occasionally they'll put in another edition on a Monday after Saints football game. It looks like a menu at a Chili's or something. It's so small. And so you don't have the newspapers spending the money on investigative reporting like you used to. Oh, they'll do a little puff piece in one article saying who's running for what, but there's really no in-depth coverage of these various candidates from governor on down. And that hurts a lot. Radio stations to save money are consolidating. Used to be on drive time, you'd have your local radio station telling you what's happening, the traffic, all the local gossip. That's a thing of the past. Most of these drive time stations are syndicated stations where you get some disc jockey out of one city carrying a show that goes to 10 or 15 cities. One more example of how it's a dampening lack of interest. People aren't as engaged as they used to. What are the solutions? Well, in Australia, Norway, several states, it's mandatory to vote. You get fined if you don't vote. We don't do it like that. I've also heard of the program, we'll give you an incentive, we'll pay you to go vote. You make $25 if you go to polls and vote. Not that interested. I don't want you voting anyway. In other states, they do it different. In other countries, in Switzerland, Sunday election day, everybody goes to church and they go have Sunday lunch and they go vote. It's kind of a big tradition. We have elections in this country, quite frankly. You ought to have one major election day a year. In counties and parishes all over this country, special school board elections and special water district elections. And they're really doing that to keep the vote down. They want the diehards who benefit to go vote, and the average citizen who may be against those tax increases to stay home. So for a variety of reasons, we've dampened enthusiasm in elections. That's a shame. You ought to go vote, whether it's in my home state of Louisiana in 10 days, or whether it's wherever you have to live in the country, and particularly with the presidential election. This means a lot. You know, if you think about it, these politicians affect your life from the day you're born till the day you die. When you're born, you got to have a birth certificate, don't you? And then the whole determination of what kind of vacations you can have set by government. The fact you've got to go to school set by government. Your driver's license required a government license. And so if you go up into business and you're a contractor, a lawyer, doctor, you got to have a license. Right till the time you die, you have to have a death certificate at the very end. So government, what you may not want to be messing with government, but government's messing with you. The best way to express that and keep a handle on it is to go vote. And I hope you'll do so. And I hope look at my new column, JimBrownUSA.com. Talk to you soon.